great. I almost want to say, play it again. That was so powerful. I love the high energy music, all the beautiful pictures. Wow, that just got me pumped up. I am Dr. Pamela. Thank you for coming to Purpose by Design live broadcast. Woo! Here we are. I am so excited because this week I am coming to you right there, wherever you're at, virtually speaking, with some amazing, powerful authors of Your Next Best You Woo! Anthology. Oh my goodness, we have broke so many records, including we hit #1 bestseller, international bestseller in multiple countries, and many other top selling records that we broke. I am honored to be the visionary. These authors are going to just rock your world. Their stories are incredible. So, you know what? Grab a cup of coffee, tea, glass of water, soda, whatever it is, and kick back and listen and learn, because you're going to go to school tonight, because these folks don't come on to a platform to just chit chat. They come in with purpose by what? Design. And they are ready to help you go to your next. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring on my first author, who is also my assistant, my friend, and was the glue that always holds my books together, the project manager of Your Next Best You, Nicole. Come on in here. Woo! Up in here, up in here. There she is. Oh my goodness. Nicole, we have known each other a long time and seen a lot of things go on in our lives. Yeah. A lot of milestones hit. Yeah. And this has been a milestone for you.
Yes.
Because you didn't just put the whole book together, which is, wow, amazing that how you do that. Create beautiful graphics. Look at this. Look at this. What we're surrounded by purple and gold and glory. And it's so pretty. You don't only create all of that amazing stuff, put the books together, upload the books, so many other things that you do. But now, published author. Oh, all right, I'm super excited. I want you to take it away. I want you to tell everybody who you are and all, and whatever is on your heart, and share. I've got my notebook here, so if I'm looking down, that means you're bowling strikes, and I am going to take some notes. So take it away, lady.
All right. Only because you're making me do this. I know, I gotta swap.
I'm not the big one here.
I'm trying. There you go. Oh my gosh. The things she makes me do on a daily basis, but I love her dearly. Yes, look at that. Isn't it pretty? I'm back here, and I had to redo the cover, which, whatever. But yes, my first chapter in a book. I've been thinking about doing that, and I've talked to Pamela a few times about it, and I was like, I'll know when it's the one. I had a couple people ask me beforehand. A couple people that I work with through Dr. Pamela had asked me a couple of times, and I was just, I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. And when Dr. Pamela asked me to write in this one, and I was like, yeah, this is the one. And so my chapter is entitled Embracing Joy in Your Next. And I have to say hi to my mom because she's watching. I'm surprised she's not in bed. We love you, Mama. But I talk about, anybody that's on my social media knows that joy is a huge center of what I try to do. Mainly because my life wasn't always that way. And the focus was not on that for a very long time in my life. It was the day by day. This is who I am. I'm my kid's mom. For a long time, you're known as your kid's mom. and you don't have a name for a lot of your life when you have kids. But I talk about that in my chapter and how I got to the point in my life where I had to find my identity apart from my family. And I've always been this person. I've been the volleyball player, I've been the cheerleader, I've been the band person, you know. I was always had that kind of title, and I was just never known for just being me. And I'm sure my friends would argue with that, and that's just fine. But I came from a place where I was very negative on myself and had a very low self-esteem. And Pamela, like she said, has known me for a long time. And this would not have happened 10 years ago. I would not be talking to anyone. But I really tried to push myself. And because I know that I'm supposed to, and being part of what Pamela does on a daily basis has really helped push me forward and into becoming what I am right now. I mean, the authors that I've gotten to work with over the last couple years, just putting their books together and project managing, and now I publish books and have worked with some amazing people. And I've learned to see the joy in all of that. And it is not always happy, sunny, sunshiny times. And that's just fine. Thanks, Andre. He sent me authors. I appreciate it. But it's finding that joy, that moment of joy in the day that might be crazy. And even in the worst times in your life, you can be sitting at a funeral talking about the person in the casket or in the urn or whatever. I'm not getting morbid, okay, y'all. But don't you sit around and you talk about that person, and in that time, that's when you find joy. So it's those times where you realize how important joy is in your life. And if you can't find that joy, and not just the, oh, I'm happy, you know, and you're laughing all the time, that's not it. It's the inner core joy, and finding that is the biggest part of it. So get the book. I love it. I've gotten to read some of it, not all of it. I've gotten to know all of the authors really well, and I absolutely love this group of people that ended up with us in this book. It took us a while to end the author call for the book because we had a number that we wanted, but it was more the people we wanted. And I think we turned out the people that are in this book are just amazing. And their stories are amazing. And I thank Pamela for pushing this book. And she has been the backbone of getting the book out there. And to be honest, we were #1 new release before we even launched the book. So that doesn't happen very often. So we didn't tell anybody that, but I texted her Tuesday, I think it was, and I was like, I sent her a screenshot of it, and I was like, we're already there. And that just was a testament to #1, her, and the way she was putting the book out there, because we did a lot. We promoted this book a lot. And she did a lot of that. She wrote it. She was pumping up everybody. And that's a testament to her belief in the book, her belief in the authors. And I just want to personally thank you for the friendship that I have in you and my flowers. But no, I love you to death. And thank you, love.
Woo! Nicole, that was so awesome. And thank you to Andre and James that commented. Depending upon where you're commenting at, I can see them. And if I can see them, I will pop it up. And so people can see your comments. If I can't see them right there, then we will make sure we're commenting later. Just want to say, like it and share it. So if you're watching right now, like it and share it. Somebody else needs to hear what you're hearing, and you know who it is. So send it over to them, share it on your profile, whatever. Let's take your next best to you around the world again. That was so fun, Nicole, to hear that we were already, in that number one position for bestseller, like for new release. I'm like, whoa, God is so good. But everybody has worked so hard. Nicole, it was so fun to watch this part of you evolve. I'm super excited and honored and privileged that you chose to join in this anthology as an author. Thank you. All right, let's bring up our next author. This woman I have had the joy of getting to know better. We've known each other here and there, kind of dabbled in some different things with our kids, and we had a common friend, Dr. Deidre. And now Millie is someone that I consider to be a friend. I consider to be an incredible author and one of my mentoring clients. She is just blowing me away in all the greatness that is oozing out of her. And here she is with us tonight to rock the world with her chapter and tell you about who Millie is. So Millie, come on up, girl. Woo, woo.
Thank you.
Here. I'm so excited that you're here because there was a time not that long ago when you were going through some stuff and physically but you pressed through it, and so much even bigger grandeur for your chapter because of it. But man, you poured yourself into your chapter, and I'm so excited for people to know more about you, know about your chapter, and any other gold nuggets you want to drop. Please, Millie, take the stage and tell us about you.
Thank you, Pamela. I love you very much. And yes, the reason I got involved with your Next Best You is, like Dr. Pamela had said, we have a mutual friend called Dr. Deidre. Love you too, Nicole. And she is a pretty amazing person herself. If you don't know her, you should know her. She is one of the most selfless human beings who wears her heart on her sleeves, and she will love you like no other, with no stipulations to her relationship, right? So I've known her for about 20 years now, and she has been, outside of my husband, my only consistent person in my life. Okay. So, just a little bit about my story and my book. I wrote a chapter called Damage Rebranded in here. And yes, it's my heart and my soul. However, it's not everything, right? There's still pieces in there that aren't in there. So I wanted to share some of the most deepest parts of me that people could relate to and really walk away knowing that they can impact other people and make a difference in somebody's life. So I just wanted to share just something that's kind of on my heart. So I'm going to read just a couple quick statistics. So I spent over a decade, about a decade of my life in the foster care system. So I wouldn't say it was all foster care, because there's a difference between foster homes and there's a difference between group homes and shelters. And I won't get into all of that, but more than 23,000 kids every year age out of foster care, and 70% of them want to go to college. But you know how many actually really do? 3%. 3%. And 1 in 4 kids actually graduate from high school and or get a GED. And 1 in 2 of us will develop a substance abuse dependence. And 60% of boys who have already aged out, as they age out and go out, have been convicted of a crime. And 7 in 10 girls who age out become pregnant before the age of 21. And it's somewhere around, there's a new statistic, but the last one I read, it's about 70% of people who are in state prisons have had something to do with the foster care system. So what my message to you today is, what I feel that people need to hear is, we're not a diagnosis. We're not a statistic. Your voice matters, and don't be afraid to be heard and to stand up to create change in the world. I had a dear friend. I've created in this community, I've become friends with a handful of people who are very near and dear to my heart. And one of them just said to me recently, in the last couple months, and you know who you are, I won't say your name, don't discount who you are. And I tend to do that quite often, not intentionally and not on purpose, but I just often feel like that I'm not where I should be, right? So I have a college degree, I have a family, I've been married, I'm not homeless, I'm not on drugs, I'm not in the prison. And here I am sharing my story, sharing with you all the important things that I feel that you need to hear. So go create change, let your voice be heard. And if you push people away because you're hurting, which happens, I've done it many, many of times because that's just what my normal was, they will be there, I promise you, in this community of your next best. So know that you are deeply loved, deeply cherished, valued, and you have immense worth.
Look who's here. You see that? Dr.
I love you, Deidre.
We were just talking about you, Dr. Deidre. Wow, Millie, that was so powerful. And you beat all those statistics, which just goes to show that we're not a statistic. We don't have to choose to be a statistic. But now part of what you're doing is helping other people. Yeah, Wilnard, so powerful. Yes, another one of our amazing authors. It just goes to show when we put our heart towards something, what we can accomplish. You'll have to go back and listen. Actually, Dr. Deidre, you can call her and then make her say it again. Millie, thank you so much for being transparent, for coming in and just being you, and for allowing all of us the joy of knowing you and being part of your journey. And just know that you are so loved. And I wrote so many notes of what you said. So at the end, when we come back for questions, I do have a couple of questions for you. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you
so much.
I love you guys.
Thank you. We love you too. Wow, wasn't that just incredible? I tell you what, these authors are just kicking it. They aren't playing. They mean business, and they are bringing it. They are bringing all of their greatness to you and answers. So many incredible people that are here this week. So we have Monday, Wednesday, and Friday of this week at this time. You're going to be hearing from these incredible authors. And so, Miss Nicole, I'm going to pull you back up for just a moment, if you don't mind hopping back up here. Yay!
How's that happen? No. No.
So I'm asking you an off-the-cuff question. We're live, everybody.
Okay.
Sneaking around. Two questions.
Yes.
One has to do with our other guests. So we still have two. Have they communicated?
They're on their way.
They're on their way. Okay. So my question that I wanted to ask to you was this. What was different in this book than other projects? And you can narrow it down because you do lots of projects. So if it's easier for you to say what was different in this project with you, Pamela, or if you're saying this was different across the board than any other project, whatever kind of fits for you. But what was different about this project?
Well, I think for the both of us, we definitely talked about doing something different with this one. We both talked about how we would make this successful from the get-go. And that was one of our best goals. That was one of the things that we really wanted to do. Just the title of it. When you brought the title, it was like, okay, and then of course we talked about your vision for what, okay, so you can bring a title, but why the title, right? You can give anything a title, but if there's no meaning behind it, then it just really doesn't matter. So it was a lot about that, but it was, okay, so your next best you, and we wanted to promote this different than we had anything else, because we've been doing this for a couple years now. But this was your first anthology on your own.
Correct.
Everything else that you have done, you've done with somebody else. So we've done a lot of co-visionary stuff where you had to blend your idea with somebody else's, which we did such a great job with those. Mm-hmm. I mean, the most successful that you had was with Apostle Deborah and Ignited to Serve. That one skyrocketed as well. But this one was yours, and you wanted it to be just something different. And so from the get-go, just your contact with your authors. I think we both learned a lot from this one. I learned a whole lot more that I think we both will take forward, but I can take forward in all of my projects. But the contact with the authors is what I think kept everybody and made all the authors so much more engaged. It wasn't they were just writing this chapter and saying, okay, here you go. Really. Yeah. Right. I mean, that's been a lot of the projects, if you get it in on time, first of all, I will say every author in this project had their stuff in on time, had their payments paid on time, had their pictures, everything was in on time. That is a first. That was a first in any project I've done. That's never happened. But you made everybody know that this was important to you, that they were important to you, that this was your baby. Mm-hmm. This book was something that you wanted to succeed, but that you also wanted them to succeed with it. And I think that made a huge difference. Every author was so committed to the project. And when you said, post this, when you said, let's do, I forget what you even called it, but we had where they were posting things every day with this one picture. They were on it. They were on it. And there wasn't a hesitation. And we had stuff all over social media. And I think that was huge. And that's probably why it hit number one as quick as it did. So we learned a lot, and I can't wait to take it forward with everything else we did. We've had billboards. This was the first time you and I did billboards. I did one with my my individual author, which was a blast. But we had billboards. We had press releases. We did everything. So it's been so fun. Yeah, and it's all been fun. I mean, it was a lot of work. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of work, but it was all fun. Yes, the vision was so clear. You are so right, Wilner.
Well,
so clear, and that is the hugest thing. Is that some people that I work with, a lot of them, the vision's perfect, but it's the authors that don't grab it. Mm. And you had authors, they came into the project because of the vision. They didn't just come into the project because of you. They came into the project because of you and the vision for the book.
They had something to add.
Exactly.
They had a part to play.
Yes.
Oh, that's so good, Nicole. Thank you for answering that question. And it looks like we have another author here.
Yep, I'm going to go away. Bye.
Ooh. So our next author's here. I'm so excited. Now, this gal, I had known of her name, but I had not had the joy of meeting her. And as I have met her, well, through the book project, I I believe that someday we will meet absolutely in person all the way. I'm excited for that day. I know she has feet. She knows I do too. That's our little joke, because when you see somebody just from the neck up, you know they must have feet somewhere. And someday we will see that with each other. But her dedication to this anthology, the creativity, the added things that she did, the additional posts that she did, how she would think of just those little extras to promote the book before we were even at launch and tag people. She's just so creative. And on top of that, she's a coach, and she helps people chase their dreams and understand their dreams. And bringing in Do Renee was like the candlestick on the cake. It just, she came in and added such value, as every author did. But when somebody comes into your book and you're like having that first time together with them and you're kind of trying each other on for size, she just blessed me so much. And on top of that, she's a lovely mom, has a great mom story. I'm a mom, so we have many things we share in common. So I am excited to bring up Do Renee, Meryl Jones. Come on up. Woohoo! Thank you
Aloha.
for coming. I know you were in the middle of getting dinner done for your family. I so appreciate them sharing you with us for right now. So I'm just asking all of the authors to share about themselves a little bit and tell us a little bit about your chapter and how it is that you got involved. So the stage is yours. You're going to see our pictures kind of flip flop here while you become big and I become little, so we can highlight you. There you go. Take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. And thank you, Dr. Pamela, for being just such a great visionary, and Miss Nicole for being such an amazing manager in this project. I've been learning so much as a fellow author and authorship coach. I'm just inspired that we can be in this kind of sacred economy where we're in similar fields and we're learning and collaborating together. And it's like this really powerful new sacred economy that I really feel unfolding, where we're empowering each other, even when we're in similar fields, at letting go of the old paradigm of like this like toxic way of needing to be better or worse than each other in the same field. That paradigm is dissolving away quickly and has been for decades, as we bring in a field where we actually thrive together. So I am Meral Do Renee Jones. Oftentimes just go by Do Renee. My name Meral or Meral means female deer in Turkish, which is where my dad's side of the family is from. And so that's where the Do comes from. And then Renee, in my other favorite language to speak, which is French, I'm a linguist, means rebirth and renaissance. And so that is a very powerful, meaningful thing for me, as names are very important to me. And so I took the time to explain that to you, because I believe truly in the power of words. And I talk about that a little bit in my chapter with the superpowers of creativity, as well as something I haven't published about yet, which is the power of dream time. Specifically like nighttime dreams even. Of course, the dreams that we set during our waking life, the goals that we set, are really just a physical analog for the nighttime dreams that we have. And I'm so grateful to have worked with a lot of other mentors leading up to this, like Dr. Tiana Galgano, and she taught me a lot about dream time and unlocking a lot of power there and understanding. And so in my chapter, you'll see that I write about how creativity and dream time can come together, and how creativity has been a really big part of my transmutation process through a lot of grief, tragic things like suicides in our family, and having it be something that we can look back on, of course, allow, honor, and witness the grief, while at the same time having creativity, sometimes processing through fiction, be a way that we heal and grow together.
That was so powerful. And you just recently also released your own book. Well, one of your many books, but you just released one that I keep by my nightstand. Would you just give a little plug for that? Because that is so powerful. The book is wonderful, but the reason behind it is what drove me to get it. Would you share just briefly about that?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting that. I published a book with the fun challenge and fun challenge opportunity to write and publish it in a day. And so I woke up with the idea and was guided very quickly to just put out this mini book, truly mini, and it's called The Mini Book of Word Magic. And I put it out in September for in honor of Mental Wellness or Suicide Awareness Month. And of course, just that I've had several family members and friends that have ascended in spirit through the act of suicide. And so I wanted to put out a book with that purpose, and then portions of the Amazon bestseller proceeds went towards Friendly Harbor, which is a local organization here in Pueblo, Colorado, that really is an amazing space, actual physical space where people can go if they're feeling in crisis with their mental health. And so that book is a small little mini book of 111 affirmations and 111 declarations. Declarations being words that we speak to ourselves. For instance, I can do this, I'm enough in the present, moving forward, and then affirmations being words and magic spells, so to speak, that we speak as if we're in the future. And so that could be I'm a visionary speaker traveling the world to 5 countries a year or something pretty bold. And so that could be things that you would find in Mini Book of Word Magic. You can just look up Do Renee Mini Book of Word Magic or follow me online to find the links. And then in the end, there's some big blank pages for you to write your own declaration. And I'm really grateful to hear that Dr. Pamela has on her nightstand. I have friends that carry around in their purse. It's really tiny. I looked around to see if I had a copy nearby, and I don't. And that's fine because you can go see it yourself. And it's just great because I have to say I wrote it for myself because I've been practicing using word magic, as I call it, for years. And sometimes I'll get in ruts where I'm just saying the same ones. When I first wake up before my feet touch the ground, I usually say internally or whisper out loud or even say out loud some affirmations or declarations. And I kept kind of saying the same ones. I oftentimes say, I am love, I am light, I am source, I am sight, I can be right, I can be wrong, I can sing my own song, which I really love that. And I was literally saying the same thing over and over again for weeks just because I was kind of like, okay, I said my affirmations, I'm up. And so I wanted to, after I did that one time, and I was kind of like, I'm bored of that one. So I got up and wrote this book in a few hours and put it all together and put it out in early September, which was actually around the time unfoldment or anniversary of a loved one that passed away due to suicide. And so, yeah, so that is about Mini Book of Word Magic. And I am so grateful to say there's been at least 5 or 6 times in the last couple weeks where I was feeling off. I was maybe in a little bit of victim mentality and that things were happening to me, that I was overwhelmed. And I just flipped randomly to a page in that book and was able to just read it out loud. At first, wasn't feeling it. And then after the 5th or 6th affirmation, I'd shifted my energy and my vibration. And I attended Dr. Pamela and Jody's vibration masterclass. So it's just all coming together as we master our vibration.
Oh, that's so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. No reason at all to be without an affirmation or a declaration at all. Just get that book. Thank you so much, Doe. And again, thank your family. And if you can hang around, we're going to have a little bit of a question time at the end. So thank you very much. Appreciate you. Wow, that was powerful. And so we have one more author here tonight. Oh my goodness, Miss Carmen is the author here tonight. I am excited to introduce her. I have known Miss Carmen for a long time. She's Miss Carmen to me. She'll be like, why are you calling me Miss? But I've known her for a long time, and it has been so fun it's so fun to see people evolve and come into their next, to see them begin to master the greatness in them. And I'll just tell you this before we bring her up here. I have always seen such power in this woman. And she shares her journey about English not being her first language, yet when she's speaking, it's like, what, how could that even be? She talks beautifully. And now she helps other people write and not be afraid of whatever it is that might hold them back, whether it is that isn't their first language or it is just feeling not up to the task. She coaches some of the elite people in the area where she lives in. She helps children. She helps parents with the children. Like, what she does is nothing short of amazing. And on top of that, she's a speaker. She's an international best-selling author. And we get to have her in this book. So, Miss Carmen, come on up here, girl. Woo! So excited to have you here. We do need you to unmute, though. You are muted. There you go. I know that you ran to get here and so appreciate you. And I love you. Please take your liberty and share who you are. Share. Oh, look at this. Look at this beautiful post that we have here from James about Do Renee Jones. Thank you so much, James, for putting that up there. We love you, appreciate you, sir. So, Carmen, just asking the authors to share who they are, what your chapter's about, how you got involved, and any other gold nuggets you want to throw in there. Go for it. So take your liberty. You're going to be the big picture. There we go.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me again. I've seen you back to back. This is what I love about publishing books because we just get to connect more often, and I think that we get to highlight each other's greatness. Me, like, I'm so grateful for everything that you have done for me, from coaching me to taking that phone call when I needed to speak to someone, right? And I think it's just like all community. And thank you for all those beautiful words that you said about me. As you can see, I came in from working with kids. This is normally the shirt that I wear when I go and present myself with the kids, because normally this is the phrase they say, Teacher Carmen is here. And so that sums up pretty much my weekly, like, hands-on work of what I do. I do work with kids, and interestingly enough, it was Les Brown who said to find something that we're just so good at, but we're just like that we will do it for free, but we're just so good at it that people will pay us for it. And so basically, I happened to come across this opportunity to work with kids, to play with them, and to educate parents on the importance of play with their kids in a playful excuse me, in a playful way. So it's doesn't even feel like work to me. Like, I go there and I just have a great time, especially to be there for parents, to be the support for parents, because I think that the passion of me just pretty much working with kids grew in my childhood, right? Like, I wish that my mom had been there, or I wish that I had the upbringing that I see now other moms give to their kids in front of my classes. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like, that's the most amazing part. But also, to make this a better world. I really believe that. I mean, I think it was Jamal Mitchell that said that 40% of the population are kids, but they're 100% of our future. And so when I saw that quote, it just impacted me, because I said, wow, yeah, it is very true. So I find that even though I come into the little mommy and me groups, the mommy and me settings, every time I'm there, like, I take my job very serious, because I know that there is just so much that I can give to whether the parent or not pays attention, because sometimes parents get distracted with their phone or they're just chat, right? But as long as I am present with the kids, right? And as long as I can teach the little kids something, I feel like I am planting little seeds. And so that's pretty much what I do. Now, about my chapter. My chapter is about fear. It's not about fear. It talks about fear and how we a lot of the times make choices based on fear, how we go about our lives really trying to play it safe through life. But at the end of the day, it's like we don't really play it safe, right? Like we still go through life, we still make the mistakes that need to be made. And whether we do the right thing or the wrong thing, like we still get the consequences, right? And I think that in my life, like the signature of my life for the past 40 years was really trying to play it safe, not realizing that every time I try to play it safe, I was just digging myself into like a deeper hole, right? And the hole was just that fear. Like I just didn't want to do certain things because I was just too afraid to speak up, too afraid to have other people notice that the English is my second language. I didn't want to go here because of just just dream, like, right, just fears, like run, like strange fears that sometimes we have, like we don't like to speak in public because why? Right? Because we're afraid of judgment. We don't like to go out on the street and speak up our mind. Why? Because we're afraid of confrontation, because we're afraid of certain things. And so I think that in my life, that was pretty relevant in my life, where I grew up in a town where I was just surrounded by violence. And so I learned to be scared, obviously, right? Like it was just frightening. And I think that I brought that fear with me everywhere I went. And it just ended up getting me in trouble because as afraid as I was of certain things, I ended up picking the ones that seem a lot easier. And so those were the ones that got me in trouble. And I want to say here that one of my biggest fears was to let people know that I had an addiction problem. Like I tried to hide it for as long as I could. I tried to not talk about it. I would be embarrassed. I would just feel that if I told anybody that part of my past, that suddenly people were going to look at me differently, right? And it was actually true. Like a lot of people saw me differently. A lot of people didn't think I was the Carmen they thought I was, right? And that, instead of like empowering me to say like, well, yeah, that's right, like I am not the Carmen you think, I am a better Carmen, right? I would take it into like a whole different negative realm of like, defeat, right? Oh, I can't believe I was so bad, I can't believe this, nobody likes me, nobody this, nobody that. But it was not until the power voice gave me my voice back. And it allowed me to, even though that I had already recovered and I had already done the work and I worked really hard to get sober and I worked really hard to change my life around, right? It was not easy, it was a lot of work, it was a lot of tears, but I did it. And so when it came to the power voice, I think that it was the very first time that I shared my story, like what it was really like. Like I couldn't share it with anybody else who was not an addict because I used to think, well, they're not going to get it. They're not going to understand. And that's absolutely right, right? There's a lot of people out there who don't get it. And so for me, it was really when I owned my voice, when I owned my story, and when I realized that all these things that had happened to me had actually happened for me, and I took ownership of the results that I was getting, and I took ownership of the 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 what is it called, the mindset to say like, hey, you know what, all these things might have happened, or like, all these people that might have hurt me in the past or might have done a X, Y, and Z. Yes, it actually did affect me, and it affected me for so long. But it was like, yeah, I got to the point where I was like, how much more, how much longer am I going to allow those people to take a hold of my life? And so it was through the power voice that I learned to own my story, that I learned to take my power back, to say, like, yeah, you know what? I might have done so and so, but through that, I am here today. And it was through that I conquer all the fears that I ended up conquering. So I started tackling one by one through John Talarico at this point, which it was like facing just my fears head on, speaking in public, meeting people online, sharing my story, being open more about sharing my story and sharing my story a little more. And even though it might have sounded repetitive, it was doing something inside of me. It was allowing me to seriously like break through that fear, break through those chains that were tying me, pretty much, that were holding me back. And slowly but for surely, I began to feel so much better about myself. And I started to just feel empowered by my story, and I started to feel less ashamed of the person that I thought I was, but really I was not that. It was just a perception thing. So I guess like those two have been like my major turning points, ending up in the Power Voice and John Tallarico and working through just that fear. So in my chapter, I talk about a little bit about that because we only have one chapter, so we can just talk about a certain, like, the most important points. So my chapter just talks about my journey of how I went from fear to faith, because we can talk about faith all day and say like, well, you got to walk by faith and not by sight, or you got to be strong, you got to be courageous. But how do you do it? Well, you just do it. How do you get the strength? Like, how? Right? That was me. Like, yes, I know I have to speak and tell my story, but how? Like, where do I get the strength? Where do I get the courage? And so for me to really come into just that thought of like, hey, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to try for once prayer. How about we like up our prayer life a little bit more, right? And so there's my pastor who says like life failures are prayer failures. And that resonated with me so much, because I thought, how much have I prayed about this specific situation? Like really, really pray. And so I began to make prayer my priority. And one thing happened after the next, and it was seriously just like how was it Joyce, right? Joyce right now, just talking before me, who said the powers, the powers, I mean, the power of our words, right? And I started to really speak life into my own self. I started to speak possibility. I started to speak positive about me. I started to do mirror work. I started to look at myself in the mirror, and instead of dissecting myself for not looking a certain way, I started to love on myself, and I started to really pray to God, saying like, give me the strength to change, give me the strength to be better. Like, how can I love myself more? Because I knew that in order for me to love others, I had to love myself, right? And how can I build a relationship with myself? And I think that the more I prayed, the stronger my relationship got with God, but also like the stronger the relationship that I built with myself. And once that was established, I think that it was just kind of like repeating, right? Like, it worked, repeat it again. It worked, and repeat it again. And so that's pretty much the whole thing of my chapter, and just the signature of my life, you know. And on our last interview, I said that the first 40 years were like, I'm 40. I just recently turned 40. So the first 40 years of my life have been about learning. And although I said in the past that there's no more learning, well, yeah, there is a lot more learning to do for me, of course, but there's no more, like, I used to think, well, I need to have a certain kind of degree, education, and this and that, so then that I can teach it back. And I'm like, well, what about learning from all those experiences that I have acquired for the past 40 years and passing them on to someone else? How about stop holding on to all that treasure that you have built and start sharing it with the world? And I think that the next 40 years for my life is about that. It's about giving back. It's about, really, it's not about me, it's about who I can impact, who I can help, who I can help become sober, who I can help in their prayer life, in their fitness life, in like all these areas that I struggle with, that with hard work have become, they're becoming successful. I want to teach everybody how to do that, you know, just for their own well-being, for, you know, just so we can make this a better world. So thank you for letting me share.
That is so powerful, Carmen. Thank you. I love that. that the first 40 were the gathering of the information, and the next 40 are going to be pouring out all of that information, all those lessons, all those things that you've learned into all those around you, and that your life is going to touch so many. Wow, that was huge. Thank you so much for sharing. And your story is amazing. Yeah, James said your story is powerful.
Thank you.
And it is. I remember when I first heard your story, then getting to know you and then realizing the power of your story. I so appreciate you. Thank you for writing in the book and for being so transparent.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
you, Carmen. Don't go away because we're going to have a little Q&A time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, everybody, come on back in. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. Here we are. I love it. Okay, so this has been amazing. And I just want to thank you all collectively for saying yes to Your Next Best You, because it wouldn't have been Your Next Best You without you. You are reaching people that somebody else isn't reaching, because there is those that are gathered around you that come to hear your voice, right? But there's other people's lives that are hanging in the balance, and you're the one that God is going to utilize to reach them. So I'm just so grateful, excuse me, for all of us coming together collectively to co-create this book, because we're going to change the world. Period. End of conversation. Done. And it's already happening. So I just have a question that I want to ask, a couple questions one to each of you. And then if any of you have a question for each other, I want you to have a chance to ask it, and then we'll wrap up. So I asked Nicole earlier what was different about this project, and she answered. And if you didn't get a chance to hear that, please go back and listen. She had some really profound things to say. But I want to ask that question to each one of you: what was different about this project? But I want to talk, Millie, you said specifically, don't discount who you are. And that was something that had, plagued you, was discounting who you are and learning that your voice matters. And your chapter pulls that right out. Like, hey, your voice matters. I'm speaking from experience here.
Yeah.
Don't discount who you are. So I wanted to circle back to that and ask you to maybe share a moment on that, but also what was, talk to us about what your experience was like here at Next.
Okay. So we'll probably tie those together. So I think for me, well, I know for me personally, we tend to compare ourselves to each other. And I would say with this particular book and this particular project and coming out for the first time, kind of getting my story out there and sharing that with the world, our minds are so powerful. It's like a playground up here, right? I mean, there's everything you can imagine, and they're just beating yourself up all the time, or comparing ourselves to this person or to that person or to this show or to that movie or to this body shape or to, you get the point. So when I originally said, okay, I'm going to do this, we're going to do this. All right, here we go. It's crazy, but we're going to do it. Through the process, it wasn't exactly easy, because here I am. What do I want to share? What do I not want to share? What are people going to think about if I share this? What are people going to think about if I share that? Is this too personal? Did I say too much here? So even doing a live like this, which that was a particular experience I was sharing, I was asked to or offered, not asked, but offered to do a live, and I had set it up, and then I backpedaled really fast, and I was like, I can't do this. We're not doing this. I don't know what I'm going to say, and I don't know what it's going to be like, and am I going to mess up my words, or am I going to say the wrong thing, right? So that particular human, who I absolutely have learned to love and adore and holds a very special place in my heart, reminded me, don't discount who you are. You've got to stop that, basically, without saying that, right? So doing this and being a part of this journey has really humbled me and really brought me to a place of humility. And what I have to share is okay. And maybe I may not sound like some professional scholar who has this amazing written speech in front of you, but behind scenes, I love to write and I love to journal. So I started to say, hey, how I talk is not how I write, right? Um, so people are going to judge me for that. But being a part of this is we are connecting with people from all over the world, right? And it's really like what Doe was saying. And I kind of had this vision when I got to talk to you, Dr. Pamela, about your vision. The same as what Doe is saying is we all have a purpose and we all have a mission and we all have a voice. And I truly believe in my heart that if people could just come alongside each other like we have in this book and just really embrace each other, regardless of our differences or maybe even our similarities, how much more impactful are we going to be to people and to the world? And we're setting that example in the world, right? And to people and just coming alongside of them, no matter, Carmen, your story of addiction, though your other family members and their suicide, and Nicole and Pam. I mean, it's my story of not really ever having a family. And here I am. And I feel like I am a part of this big, huge family, and gets me a little emotional because I had one and then my own, family unit of my husband and my kids. And now I have like just this amazing family and people I can go to if I just need to talk to somebody, right? So that's been my experience through this.
That is so beautiful. The takeaway that I have from what you said is family.
Mm-hmm.
Family.
Yeah. Non-judgmental too. Like everybody's gonna love you and accept you no matter what, right?
That's it. And the other thing is, I don't know about y'all, but I think she sounds like an orator already, don't you think? She sounds like a fabulous speaker. So change that up, Millie, because you've got it. You're a fabulous speaker.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, well, Joe, how about you? I would love to just hear a little bit about, what your takeaway was. You've written other books and been in other projects. So what was different about this one?
Oh my gosh. I'm just amazed at how much you and Nicole have let us in, and specifically just like down to the details of um, the consistency, I think, is a big one for me. I was actually, when we were off camera just now, sharing with my husband about how this project, how I've really just been taking it in and learning for everything for myself too, just being so grateful to be able to learn from people who are like a few steps ahead of where I'd like to be, and thankful for the universe for bringing them into my realm. So, I mean, just the consistency, um, the detailed marketing that we all got to do together, that was really awesome to see and again learn from. And then really, I think the biggest thing was the fact that very openly, which I really appreciate being a person of faith and spirit, that this was a project that, you were openly saying, hey, if you're someone who's also on that path of faith and realizing that we're all one, that we're all under one God, one goddess, however you want to call it. I loved that you, as someone who is a beautiful speaker, a pastor, or tell me the correct word there I should be using, but being able to bring that aspect of who you are, Dr. Pamela, to this, I think that really makes it unique for me. And that was something I appreciated from the start. And I loved how there's very different and similar ways that we all have our faith in this project, and we all respect and appreciate it as part of the greater whole. I'll end with a really cool analogy, I guess, an analogy that I've always said since I was a young girl, because I've always stood for a world of peace in our lifetimes. Ever since I was little, I know that's part of why I'm here on earth, is to even say those words and to start saying something different. Not that the world is doomed, that we can co create one of the infinite timelines where we choose peace on earth. And so, one of the analogies I would share with people when they'd say, "You're way too optimistic," that's, yeah, right, that's not going to happen. I'd say, well, I mean, I'd argue that it's totally possible. Yes, it's going to be challenging, but maybe it's just simply as simple as seeing each other's perspectives. So imagine we're all sitting on a hillside stargazing, one of my favorite pastimes. Always been a star lover, even wanted to be an astronaut at one point in my life. So imagine we're all sitting on a hillside, and some people have a telescope, some people have binoculars, some people are just looking with their naked eye. They're on different parts of the hill, looking at different parts of the sky. And we perhaps just are able to walk around and say, "Oh, show me how you see. Show me how you see. Oh, wow, I totally didn't see those shapes. I didn't see those animals put together from all those clusters of stars, or perhaps in the same situation in the daytime, looking at the clouds and seeing the shapes there." It seems so simple, but having been a teacher here as well, I love this analogy with young people, especially, but also adults, to see how simple it can be to really see eye to eye, and create that world of peace one step, one moment at a time. I'd argue that we have peace on earth in this project, Your Next Best You. It's just rippling out to all places and spaces. So I'd say that lastly, what's different about this project for me is that we really got to embody sacred economy and peace on earth in one microcosm of the macro. So thank you all so much, and thanks for asking that.
That was so powerful. And I wrote down how simple it can be. Boom. I love that. And yeah, it was important to me that, we're on a journey together, right? And that we are supposed to, God is love. And that to me, of course, is Jesus to me, but I believe that he is love, and that he loves all. And so we leave room for each other and to navigate this globe together, because how simple it can be. Love that, Joe. Thank you so much for sharing that from your heart. Miss Carmen, how about you, girl? What was different about this project to you?
Wow, I don't know if I can add anything above these two amazing speakers. You let the non-speaker, like English speaker, go at last. See, I'm like getting all tongue-tied. Thanks.
A
Thank
speaker.
you. I
Heard
see what you guys are
you.
doing, stepping. Well, no, so everything, like honestly, everything. When I feel that in the experiences that I had before, I was not as engaged as much. I felt like this is the project, this is what's due, this is what we're gonna do, the timeline, and that's that, right? And I feel that creating the private chat that you guys created, that gave us momentum, but also it gave you the warmth to get to know the other authors, right? So it didn't just feel like you just jumped into another project with random people that you just don't know. It actually gave me at least a sense of community, that if I was stuck in something, that I can reach out to someone else. Like I reached out to Nicole several times, to you, to Jasmine, right?
Mhm.
And it was because like familiar faces, right? But it was, everybody was participating in the chat, and that for me made it very pleasant, because if I was behind on something, I can just go through the questions that were already asked before, and there were some of the members that were more engaged, and they were asking more questions that sometimes I had, but I'm like, okay, how do I ask the question? So right, so that part right there was amazing. The fact that you are so caring and loving. Like I think that the love and heart that you have put in the project transpired. Like it was kind of like it almost went through us, at least for me. Like it went through me when I felt that as opposed to saying like, oh, I'm going to write a book, we're going to make it a bestseller. For you guys, it was more than that. And I think that that gave me the feeling, not that over here, like I felt it in the heart where I said, this is different, right? And so just how patient you all have been, and how just you guys are just pure joy and bliss and goodness, especially Nicole and Pamela. You guys are just so like nice. So I guess that made it less frightening for me, especially because I was behind on every on every due date for stuff. And so I think that that was the best part, and the surprise. Like I didn't even know we're supposed to have a billboard or something. I was like, oh my gosh! So to just see that there, that was really inspiring. But I know that it there was like God, like something greater, like in the book, like I don't know if it was your prayers or everybody's vibe, but the vibe was just so much higher, and it was just pure goodness. Like I can't describe it any better aside from pure goodness in like every angle. So thank you.
Oh my gosh, I love that pure goodness. Yeah, I would say it was God. I would definitely say it. And I did say it, but also all of the laborers, all of you that came along, and you weren't there just to throw in a chapter. You were there to create change and to impact the world, which we are doing and will continue to do. Your next best you. Yeah. Thank you so much, authors, for being here. Thank you so much, all of you who have been watching. Make sure that you like it and share it. Send this live on, although it'll be later. It won't be live anymore. Please make sure you share it with somebody else and be watching, because all of these great ones here, they're also going to be on my podcast. So you'll be able to catch them on the podcast or on the YouTube channel very, very soon. I want to thank you all. Stick around when we end the live so that I can say goodbye to you properly, please, if you can. And thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. Now, remember, you're here on purpose with a purpose, by design, not by default. So go out there and be the salt and the light everywhere you go. Bye for now.